And I heard the chimes, which means our guy Zac Stevens is coming to us live from Indianapolis. Always interested to hear what he has to say after these games and what he heard in the press conferences. Zac, what is going on, my guy?
Fellas, just heartbroken. I think that was the word that Sean Payton used. This was a heartbreaking loss. And I'll tell you what, guys, the mood in the locker room couldn't have been worse in terms of this loss. Sometimes you go into the locker room after a loss and it's like, on to the next one. That was a tough game, but on to the next one. This was not the case. And it's just week 2. And so I thought maybe there was going to be a little bit of that vibe in the locker room. And it wasn't, guys. They know just how gut-wrenching this loss was. Like I said, Sean Payton described it as heartbreaking. Bo Nix said it was tough. It looked like Nick Bonito had been handling this loss very, very hard, and it was a quiet locker room, and guys just wanted to get the heck out of here because they had won this game, and not just from the kick when it was missed, that 60-yarder. They had won this game going into the fourth quarter, guys, and they just blew it and blew it and blew it time and time again, guys. The Broncos had 21 points at halftime. The offense was buzzing. Bo Nix was absolutely clicking. Bo Nix was on pace for a 300-yard, 6-touchdown game. And then it just fell apart. The Broncos went out, had a touchdown on the first drive of the second half. And then after that, it went punt, missed field goal, interception. Those were the final 3 drives for the Broncos. You can't have that, especially against a team when they're starting Daniel Jones and then the defense doesn't look like the defense from last week. They go out and honestly, guys, have a really, really rough day on the defensive side of the ball, but you still had the game in your hands. And it was a bend, don't break effort from the defense. They did a great job, even up until the final. I mean, the Colts settled for a 60-yard field goal at the end of the game. One, that was crazy that they did that, but it was like another reason why the Broncos should have won this game is it seemed like they had the game in the bag until they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Those were the words that Sean used to describe this game, is just, man, we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot, and it couldn't be more right.
Zac, what did he say? What did Sean say about the call, the penalty on the missed field goal?
Benny, it's a great question, and no one really knows what happened yet. They want to go look back at the film, so we didn't get too much information there. But just to put it in perspective, I don't think the NFL knows what the heck happened, because they initially called it on Ini Uwazurike. Then the game book officially said it was on DeAndre Tillman. We talked to Tillman at the end. He took responsibility for it. He said he doesn't really know what happened. He just went out and ran the play that the coaches called here. But if you look back at the video closely, there could actually be 2 penalties on this play. You cannot push the long snapper down. And it looks like that's what Ini was doing. It looks like he pushes the long snapper's head into the turf, and then DeAndre Tillman jumps over him. Now, it doesn't look like he stands on him and jumps over him, but he does kind of touch him. You can't do either of those things. Now, ticky-tack foul, yeah, I definitely think so. Did it impact the play at all? Absolutely not. It was just a short kick because the Colts did a crazy thing and settled for a 60-yard field goal, but you still can't do that. Wil Lutz cannot miss an easy field goal near the end of the game. Bo Nix cannot throw an interception. You don't need a first down. Do you want a first down? Sure. Do you need a first down? Absolutely not. If Bo Nix doesn't throw that pick and Wil Lutz hits a field goal, one of the 2 that he would have in that opportunity, then the Colts have to go 60 more yards in order to get a touchdown to beat the Broncos there. So after the game, there were a lot of questions about this being on one person, whether it was Tillman, whether it was Ini, whether it was Wil Lutz, and that's just not the case. And that's actually what Mike McGlinchey said after the game. He called that idea bullshit, that this is on one person, because it's not on one person. This was on many different people, and it's just, this was a game that you really had to have once you were in this position of being up, and then you just blow it like this is heartbreaking.
Yeah, Zac, Mike McGlinchey would be proud of the chat today because they're not blaming one person. They're blaming just about everyone. I saw Sean Payton's got a hand over play calling duties, cut Wil Lutz, cut Riley Moss, so our chat isn't blaming one person. They're being bigger than that. They're blaming everyone. Zac, I like the idea that this locker room was pissed off, because I think you sound pissed off. I'm pissed off. It was an inexcusable loss. Was there any sort of I don't know, who was taking accountability in this one?
Everyone was. And like Mike McGlinchey said, I'm not going to put this on one person. it's on all of us. Bo Nix, guys, I asked him about the interception that he threw, and he said, I just missed it. Well, Sean, 10 minutes before, said that the ball was tipped. And so I followed up with, well, was the ball tipped? And he said, I just missed it. Bo was really pissed after this game. Sean Payton was pretty short at the podium. And again, guys, this was the entire locker room was very down. Sometimes, and Benny, you know this better than anyone, but Ryan, you've been in some of these locker rooms. Sometimes there's a group or two after a loss that's still in a fine mood, and there's some laughs to be had. There was no talking to be had in this locker room, let alone laughs. So, Ryan, to answer your question, everyone was taking the blame for this. And honestly, Bo Nix had a great first half, 3 touchdowns. Second half, he doesn't do much. He does nothing after that first drive for a touchdown to start the second half. Guys, Jonathan Taylor had 210 yards from scrimmage. That's terrible from the defense. Tyler Warren, we knew he was the guy the Broncos had to stop. They could not stop him. The defense came up big when it seemed to matter most. Third downs, the Broncos were good on third downs. Red zone, the Broncos held the Colts 2 for 6 in the red zone, but they just constantly let them drive the ball up and down the field, including that final drive they get in just good enough range. And then obviously special teams, we've talked about it, but 2 errors there. Guys, special teams could easily have cost the Broncos the first 2 games of the season. Luckily for the Broncos, it didn't cost them last week because the defense came up huge with back-to-back negative plays for the Titans. But this is a team that's very talented. We saw what the offense can do in the first half. We saw what the defense can do last week. But if they're going to play like this, these next 3 weeks are incredibly difficult. And it seems like turf toe for Joe Burrow. He might be able to be back, but this was their most winnable game. They had it in the bag, and collectively, everyone blew it, including the coaching as well, obviously.
Zach, would love to know, what did Sean say about the defensive performance? What did those defensive players say? Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is one of the key players on that team, is a game wrecker. We know that he was the circled guy. What happened there?
Yeah, great question, Benny. And Sean was not happy with the defensive performance, and he shouldn't be after giving up nearly 500 yards. Daniel Jones has 300 yards. I believe that set a Colts record for most yards passing in the first half. They've had a guy by the name of Payton freaking Manning there too, and you just let Daniel Jones do this against you? Unacceptable. And so what Sean said after, the word he used, Benny, and this is concerning because Sean Payton said all of the blown coverages were concerning, and that is the darn truth. Too many times did I see Alex Singleton chasing a guy, and then right after the play, he kind of threw his hands up like, what was that? That whether it was on him, whether it was on someone else, it was clear that the communication was off there. They were supposed to get these things out of the way in preseason last week. You can't be having these mistakes now. And Sean Payton said, leading up to this season, that the most important thing is a fast start, but then not just a fast start, but getting better from week 1, 2, 3, and 4. He said that's the most important time to have expedited growth. Well, I just saw this team take a big step back from last week. Outside of the passing game in the first half, this entire team took a big step back, and that's concerning because I've heard Sean Payton preach just how important that is, and I put my trust in him, just like Broncos countries put their trust in him. He's a really good coach, but this was not a well-coached team today, really in any phase of this game.
How about the players? What did the players on defense have to say about their performance?
Yeah, put it on themselves. And look, I mean, you guys mentioned Riley Moss had a tough game. The Broncos defense did not get after Daniel Jones at all. We saw 6 sacks last week against Cam Ward. That was not the case here. Nick Bonito was half a second away from having a big time strip sack. Potentially Daniel Jones gets it out, turns into a big play. Then we also see Jonathan Taylor go for a 68-yard run down the sideline. The defense was not pleased. They were putting it on themselves as well. And then after the game, we talked to Pat Surtain, and guys, Pat Surtain had a rough game. If Pat Surtain is having a rough game, then that just speaks to where the defense was here. He said he twisted his ankle a little bit. He said he's going to be day to day. It seems like he's going to be okay. And the fact that he came back and played was good to see. But I mean, how many times did we see him in coverage where they were completing passes? He was always in good coverage, but man, that just shows just how the day was for the entire defense. Jonathan Taylor goes for almost 200 yards on the ground. Daniel Jones goes for 300 yards through the air. I mean, that's why it looked like Nick Bonito had maybe been crying before we got into the locker room, because this was just that tough of a game.
Zach, curious to see if Sean talked about the second half play calling, it seemed to be a little clunky. There wasn't much rhythm. Troy Franklin had a big first half breakout game for him. Didn't get the ball a lot in the second half. Did he talk anything about that?
Yeah, he was not happy with the way the second half went, and obviously, Benny, a lot is on him for that. Troy Franklin, man, a bright spot of this game and something that we just need to keep in our back pocket. He led the team with targets. He had 9 catches. He had 8 receiving yards. He almost had 90, and then he even had a jet sweep dialed up for him. And I did like the way they used Troy Franklin in this game because it was very clear that the Colts wanted to eliminate Courtland Sutton in this game. Courtland only has 1 catch for 6 yards. And guys, at the end of the day, when you put up 28 points and your leading receiver only has 1 catch for 6 yards, I'm pretty proud of the way that the ball was distributed other places, specifically Troy Franklin stepping up there. But the offense, it didn't have issues moving the ball in the second half. They just continued to shoot themselves in the foot. Missed field goal, interception, punt. Those are the final 3 drives. You can't have that. And it did just seem like Sean lost his rhythm and the offense lost their rhythm, guys. They were on track for a massive day, and then they just dropped the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Zach, we're going to let you go unless you have anything else that you wanted to make sure you hit on before we let you go.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos won this game until they continuously lost it. I mean, 4 different times we can look at and say, they won the game until they just blew it themselves. So they shot themselves in the foot, and it's a concerning loss. It's a heartbreaking loss, and I think just the biggest thing was how that locker room was feeling. I thought that they were just going to say, okay, let's bounce back. This is week 2. Let's move on to week 3. And they might feel like that tomorrow, but that was not the mood today. It was a very down locker room.
Yep, agreed. All right, Zach.
Appreciate you, Zach.
Appreciate you for hopping on. We will catch you back in Denver. Safe travels.
Thanks, guys. See ya.